Hey guys, Alec, Torelli. Today we're going to talk about work and its place in our life. This is a really important conversation that I feel like we're not having enough of in society. First, a story. I found poker when I was 16. I got invited to a friend's house and I fell in love with the game right away. I was extremely lucky because I got invited to find what became my work, my purpose, and my life for the last 14 years. So I just won the lottery in terms of finding the work I love. And it's not always this easy. Like recently, as I've realized that poker isn't what I want to do with my entire life. I mean, I've always known this, but I'm at the point now where poker is not what I want to do with my entire life. I'm looking for other things. I realized how lucky I got when I found this game of poker because I was basically given something that could become my purpose. But recently I've had to search for it. And I realize a lot of what causes a problem that people have when they have a disconnect between what they're doing and what they want to do. And it's because I've had to search for the second phase of my life, whereas I was given the first one. And it's really hard to search. Like, I understand why people and myself, like anyone, could settle for less, because it's easier to find a job we don't like and settle for less because it's painful to search through the things we don't like doing to find the thing that really is the equivalent of a passion that we feel like is a purpose that's bigger than ourselves that we could dedicate our life to. So I'm empathetic to that process, and I'm also empathetic to people that aren't in the spot that's as fortunate enough to be able to pursue this, or that didn't have the awareness to do this at the time in their life when they had the opportunity. And it's tough because there's so much pressure put on us at a young age, like when we're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, to go through this ladder, go to college and do these things. And I feel like a lot of the journey of discovery of what we're trying to do is lost, and we're pushed towards safety and security and getting a job. And that's well and good for a lot of people, and a lot of people are in that spot, and I'm empathetic to the people that don't have the opportunity to even pursue finding something that's a higher calling. But I'm making this video because there are far too many people who are well off that hate what they do, and there are far too many people that, but I'm making this video because there are far too many people that are well off enough to do what they want, yet they hate what they do. And so I feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had. But more than anything, I'm just realizing how long and hard this process has been for me to find what I want that next level to be. And so I'm really empathetic to how long it takes to find that and the struggle that one has to go through. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the transition from poker to what I'm doing now, and just to give people an idea of what maybe they could expect. So when I always knew that poker wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but to some extent, I've been on this journey of self-discovery to figure out what exactly I want to dedicate my life to that has the equivalent impact or the excitement that poker had in my life. It's really hard to give up something as exhilarating as poker, where I could play a hand, and in one moment, in 60 seconds, 6 figures could change hands. It's hard to find something that could stimulate you to that extent. And I understand that's a superficial stimulation, but it's a lot to give up, especially when you're playing on the highest level in the world, and I've worked my whole life to get to that point. And so I'm not willing to give it up cheaply and settle. And so it's made looking for that next thing difficult because of what I want it to be in my life, like the expectation I have for this next thing that I want to dedicate a lot of my time to. But I also understood, because of poker, I understood the relationship that this activity, my work, should have in my life, and I felt like it should have the same joy that poker brought me. I really worked extremely hard to get to where I am in poker. I dedicated enormous amounts of time and energy and made sacrifices, but I almost feel like guilty because I got to do it with something that I loved so much that it didn't feel like it had that burden of work. I didn't feel like I was doing it with something that I would hate to do, which for me personally would be like, I don't know, whatever, something that I would hate to do, but I felt like I got to do it with something I loved to do, and so it didn't feel like it had that burden of work. And that for me is incredible, and that's what I'm looking for. That's what I spend all of my free time looking for. And I can't even tell you how many things I've tried and experimented with to sort of like keep scratching away like a little like whatever, digging through the ground, like a little hamster, like digging on you know, like a little, anyway, you get the idea. To try and scratch away to figure out what it is that next thing is. And I've gotten it, and I understand that I want to work with people towards a common goal at the highest level. And I think business is the best way to do that. And I think that I'm at the point where I'm ready to make that commitment to speak out more about things that I like doing, and my personal brand is like a deep passion of mine that I feel like I could play the game at a very high level if I work hard at it for a long time, and this doesn't feel like work to me, so I know I'm doing the right thing. And that and starting businesses, being creative and expressing my art, instead of expressing my art through the way that I move the cards and at the poker table or whatever, move the chips around and betting and checking and raising, I could do that through the art of creativity in business, and do that on a higher level, and that has a deeper purpose of doing something that I feel like is not zero sum and that's contributing to society that will bring me more fulfillment. So that's what I'm working for. But I think that it's really important to step back and look at the relationship that people have with work mentally, or what we're taught about work. And I think it's really perverse. Like, it's that work has an adverse effect on our lives, and therefore our goal should be to eliminate it. That's only true, though, if we use the secondary definition of work, which is mental or physical activity as a means of earning income. Like, if that is true, if you're using the secondary definition of work and it's applicable to one's life, then it's true. Outsourcing, of course, is preferable than trading time for money. That's why your time would be better spent doing almost anything than doing something you hate in exchange for money. So of course, reducing work to the absolute minimum or outsourcing it in exchange for spending time with family or friends or hobby or volunteering or pursuing a passion makes a ton of sense. This trend was popularized immensely in the 4-Hour Work Week, and I feel like it's written, it's written for everyone. This is one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm not bashing the book. I actually love this book. It's one of the few books I recommend that everyone read, but the idea that work should be reduced to 4 hours a week is, I feel like, missing the deeper root cause of the problem here. So I did take a lot away from the book, and I feel like everyone should read it. I feel like it helps people focus on the right tasks and eliminate things in their life that they shouldn't be doing, and that could allow you to focus on the highest productivity items. But the reality is, Tim Ferriss doesn't work 4 hours a week. He might have certain aspects of his business that are automated that allows him to do this, which is podcasting and writing, which is his purpose. But Tim Ferriss probably works 80 hours a week. He probably just loves what he does so much that he doesn't consider it work. But that is what I feel like is the goal at the highest level. So I also run an online business. My goal is to run that online business 4 hours a week because I run it as a business so that I could spend time doing this or reinvesting my time to connect with people in a different way. And that's what my goal is. So I understand, and I believe the book is true, and everyone should read it, but I think that the idea that work is the enemy, that we should work as little as possible, and confusing these two definitions with work is the root cause of the problem. We're taught to have the wrong relationship with work, and it's not serving us as a society, and it's not serving us as individuals. And I think it's unfair because we were kind of dealt a bad hand in terms of what we were taught, but at the same time, it's up to us individually at this point as adults to, or even if you're 15, just being aware of the information, it's up to us to ultimately find what it is that is going to make us feel like we're playing a game for a living. And sometimes you're going to get lucky. Sometimes you're going to just walk into it, or you're going to know, or your parents are going to teach you to be something, and you're going to just find that thing at a very young age. You're not going to have to work to find the work. But most of the time, it's a very painful, difficult process of self-discovery. There's actually a great quote that there's the two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why you were born. And as cliche as that sounds, I feel like that's what we should be spending our time doing, to find out what the work is. And that's an easier process for some than others. But I think we have the expectation like it's going to be given to us because that's what society teaches us. Like at the end of college, at the end of this rainbow, there's a pot of gold. And if all we do is just go and follow the path and get a degree and whatever, there's going to be the dream job and doors are going to open. I finish school and where's the dream job that fulfills all my dreams and desires? And it's like bullshit. Like it's a ton of energy and time that's need to be spent scratching away, trying shit that doesn't work, failing at a million things, all to figure out the one thing that actually is what we're meant to do. And through that process of self-awareness and gaining consciousness, we figure it out. But that's a long and painful journey. So at least it was for me. Like to some extent, I always knew that poker wasn't what I wanted to do, but I knew that poker was the bridge to get me to where I wanted to go. And I started playing poker at 16, and now I'm 30 and I'm just starting my YouTube channel. I knew that I wanted to do this when I was 16. I just I wasn't the person that was ready to do it. Like I wasn't at that time in my life. So, I mean, to some extent, poker's been what I've been using to get me to this point my entire life. And so it's like, I just want, I guess people to understand, hopefully to learn something from my journey, to realize like how long this process could be, and that you're always on a process of self-discovery, and what served you yesterday might not serve you today. And so the problem isn't work. The problem is it's the type of work we do sometimes that creates a disconnect between our purpose and how we spend our time. If there's a disconnect between your purpose and how you're spending your time, and work is the reason because you're spending a lot of your time at work, then work is a huge friggin' problem that needs to be solved. But it's not always that way. It's not that way for everyone. It doesn't have to be that way for everyone. And our challenge is to find the thing that harmonizes our work and how we spend our time. That's it. That's the game. That's the purpose. Like that's our job, so to speak, is to figure out what that purpose is that connects these two things. And that's hard. And I understand that it's easier to settle for less because it's hard to find this thing. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes necessity creeps in. So I realized that this is the standard that I want to set for myself, and I'm not willing to compromise for less. But the only way I was able to find what I'm doing now and this new chapter in my life that I feel like I'm 16. I feel like I'm as excited about every day getting up, and I can't go to sleep. I can't wait to get up. And this is like, I feel like I'm 16 again. But the only reason I got to this point is that I didn't settle for less. I set the bar here, and everything that didn't meet this bar, I said, fuck it, it's gone. No. I said no. And it was painful because I just tried a bunch of different things. I tried to be a vlogger, I tried to do travel vlogging, I tried to be a photographer, I tried to, just a bunch of different ways to express my art creatively, to share my message with the world, until... Hello? No, niente. Posso avere, non so, 10 minuti? No, 15 minuti? Sì, partito. Grazie mille. Sorry. Poker for me really taught me that you can set the bar here and you can have your cake and eat it too. Like, so everything that didn't match up to that bar, I just said no. And I tried a bunch of things. Like, I failed at a bunch of things. I wanted to be like a travel vlogger and like film my life and all this stuff. And I realized I enjoy doing that, but that's definitely not my calling. I'm definitely not going to exceed at the highest level at that. Tried photography, but realized that wasn't the best way to create my art and express my message to the world. And then I finally settled on what I'm really working deeply on now, which is vlogging like this, writing, and creating a business for people to bring people together to work towards a common goal that's bigger than each one of the individual parts. And those are the things that I deeply enjoy, and I feel like I'm 16 playing poker again. So poker, for me, taught me that you have to set the standards super high, and it's only by playing a game for a living that we can ultimately achieve fulfillment at the highest level. Because if you don't feel like we're playing a game, then it's always going to feel like work. There's always going to be a disconnect. So I'm never going to settle for something. Like, may I never settle for something that doesn't feel like a game to me. And that's what I deeply want for everyone watching. I just want everyone to set the bar high, to take responsibility for their own situation, accept that work doesn't have to be something that you're merely trading your time for money for, and not compromise for less, and just go through that painful process of discovery and just find it. Because once you do, it's like life's just on cruise control. It's like, it's so easy. Like, I can't wait to get up. I can't wait to go to bed. And that's what I had in poker. And I was gifted that, and I'm grateful every day. But that's our job, to find that. And anything less is just sad. It's just sad to settle for something less because life is so goddamn short.